Hi, everybody. This is Erica at Galvin Technologies. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today about Marketing Cloud account engagement. I'm joined by Yvette Montague, and she's going to introduce herself in just a moment, but really appreciate everyone attending here and look forward to sharing more details about using Marketing Cloud account engagement, as well as how you can integrate that with your existing Salesforce system. So, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see you.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. So moving on, just wanted to give you a brief overview of Galvin. We are a certified Salesforce and marketing automation partner. We really focus primarily on nonprofits. In the 20 years and since we've been in business, we've been working with human services organizations. We work with workforce development organizations, organizations focused on fundraising, programs, grant making, and more. Today, Yvette's going to be kind of talking through the use of Marketing Cloud account engagement. But before we get to that, I wanted to introduce myself. I am Erica McNichol. I'm a senior advisor for nonprofits and have been working in technology consulting for 18 years now. I'll turn it over to Yvette to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I see a couple of familiar faces out there. I see Erin Moore. My name is Yvette Montague. I specialize here at Galvin Tech with everything to do with marketing, focusing on Pardot, which has now been renamed to Marketing Cloud Account Engagement, or Account Engagement for short. I've been working with Salesforce since 2003 and with account engagement since 2016. So I am fully certified in Salesforce and account engagement, and I'm looking forward to walking you through why account engagement is so exciting. I actually started out, funny enough, as a HubSpot consultant. And then when Salesforce bought marketing, when they bought account engagement, I actually switched over. And when I saw it, I was like, I have to show this to every marketer, especially nonprofits, because all the things that you had to do before by pulling everything into different Excels, like my email results and my web results and my paid ads results and my event results, you have to pull those all into spreadsheets to try to figure out, did your marketing work? Account engagement eliminates the need to do all of that extra work and combines everything in one really easy to use platform to actually let you show your organization that marketing is making an impact, not just in marketing speak, like with open and clicks, but with business terms. Did we acquire new donors? Did we acquire new members? Did we generate revenue? That's really what it lets you do, translate marketing into business speak.
Thanks for that, Yvette. I know everyone's excited to have you show the system in just a moment. Wanted to just recap kind of what our agenda today is. We've gone through welcome. I'll be handing it off to Yvette shortly for the demo, and then we're going to move into the questions and answers and general closing. A couple of things to keep in mind. We will be turning the captions on for this. So if you have a need for reviewing the captions, that option is available to you. We will also be recording this session. So if you or your colleagues want to refer back to it at a later date, that will be made available to you. Again, we'll be holding questions until the very end, but feel free to pop those in the chat as we go. Okay, wanted to just quickly also recap Galvin and Yvette's team's capabilities around Marketing Cloud account engagement. So not only do we have robust capabilities to implement, but if you've already got Marketing Cloud account engagement and are looking for a consultant that can be an extension of your team, whether it is training or helping your team get up to speed as a user or an administrator, we can certainly fill in that area. We do offer a time and materials contract where you can start and just use the amount of time that's most relevant to your project needs. We've been doing this work for quite some time and are well known amongst the nonprofit industry for being a high quality implementer of Marketing Cloud account engagement in all of the user scenarios for nonprofits. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Yvette to kind of talk about the different products.
Thank you, Erica. So I wanted to mention before we get started that Salesforce does offer different account engagement packages with different features, right? So the entry package is growth. The most feature-rich product is premium. Most nonprofits, we actually recommend that you get plus with an add-on called custom objects. What it will let you do is it will let you get your nonprofit specific data, such as disbursements or program engagements or gift transactions if you're on nonprofit cloud, not nonprofit success pack. It helps to get at your gift transactions as well. So, and even event attendees, other things, it really does help extend your ability to create more targeted segments using your Salesforce data. So that's the package we typically recommend. What I will do though is as I go through the demo is I will point out what's available in growth, because the large majority of the demo that I'm doing will be available in growth. And then when I get to pieces that are plus specific, I will let you know. Also, for any of our friends that have joined us today that are, now this demo is going to be demoed off of the Nonprofit Success Pack platform. But if you are joining us and you are using Nonprofit Cloud, which is like their newer version, there's just a few things to note that will be different. One of the first thing is that when I go through the integration, you'll see that I'm going to be linking to households. Household is like a household account linked to a human being that's attached to that household, which is a contact. In Nonprofit Cloud, you tend to use something called a person account, where it's almost like the account and the contact are just one object, right? So one record. So that part will look a little bit different. And also some of where the data goes to live will have slightly different names. So for example, program engagement in Nonprofit Success Pack is turned into program enrollment, right? So there's some differences in the language and the name of the objects and where the data lives. So those are the big two differences between the platform. It really shouldn't affect anything that I'm showing you in the demo, but I just wanted to let you know in case you're looking at my Salesforce data saying, mine doesn't look like that. If you're on Nonprofit Cloud, it will look slightly different. We will be holding, although if you have other members who may want to join, we're holding a Nonprofit Cloud specific demo next week on the 14th. So with that, I will go ahead and share my screen and we can get started. Alrighty, so account engagement, that's what I'm going to call it for short. I don't do the whole Marketing Cloud bit. So account engagement, the part that is the most beneficial to any marketer is the fact that it's trying to track who's actually engaging in what you're trying to say. Like, are they listening is basically what you're trying to figure out. And its goal is to, out of the people who are listening, help you shake out the ones that are more likely to hit your call to action. So if that call to action is to become a member or become a donor or to even enroll in a program, whatever your goal is, that's really what it's helping to figure out. Who in your audience is most likely to actually hit that end game. The reason why it's so powerful is because it does it not only with email. This is where it differentiates itself from a lot of other platforms like the MailChimps or Active Target, Active Campaigns, Constant Contacts of the world, is that it also uses web data. The web data starts on your website. There are two things that we do to actually start the data on your website. The first one is that we add code to your website. And what that does is it lets us track everyone who's come to your website, even before we know who they are. So what we would see is we would see people coming to your website. We might see where they came from. They found you on MSN, they found you on Reddit, they found you on Google search. We don't know who these people are, but we can see that, how many visits have they made, the pages. So the system starts tracking them even before they make it into the database. Actually, let me just do a quick refresh here. Even before they make it into the database. So you're able to see, what pages did they visit, right? So if I click to see the 9 pages that this person from MSN came through, I can click through. And here are the pages that they looked at. So I don't know who this person is. It's keeping a history of when they came. And what will happen is when they eventually fill in a form, whether that's today, whether that's in 3 months, the system will remember who they are and back populate all of this data against their record. This is really handy because as you go through it, as you're working with your prospects, you'll be able to look at this data, see it in account engagement, but also see it on the Salesforce side for your non-marketers. And they will be able to use this data to target your audience a little bit better when speaking to them. So once we have the visitor date, the visitor information on your website, what we do next is we will actually add forms to your website. What the forms do is it lets you actually now collect the data, right? So how do I go through and now take that anonymous visitor and turn them into an audience member that I can actually use? We do that with forms. So the forms, just to let you know, let you customize the look and feel of how they look so that they match your your branding exactly, right? So there's going to be no discrepancies between how the form looks and your actual branding. You'll be able to see absolutely everything. Let's go ahead and share that with the forms. I'll show you what the forms look by default. So if we go to our standard form, and if we just open that up, here we go. So you can see that the forms are relatively nondescript. But what we do when we're working with you is we will take your actual branding from your website. And here's an example of a profile update form. And we can make it look however your site looks. So whatever your font is, the exact colors, how do you want the buttons to look, all of that will be branded. By default, the forms are responsive. So as you can see, if I just pop the form out of my little window, it's a 2-column form. But if I put it in a small container, or if I'm looking at it on a mobile device, it will shrink down to a 1-column form. So we would actually put this on your website wherever you want it to live, and it will resize to fit wherever it needs to go. So when somebody fills in the form, and clicks update, the data is immediately sent into Salesforce, and the prospect record shows up immediately below the form. So from here, we're able to see, were they on our page before? Did they come to our site before? So we could see any actions that they've done before today as well as today. It pulls in. Also looking at that form, just to give you an idea of how the forms work. You can pick any field that you'd like on your form, right? So how easy is this to set up? You give your form a name, you attach it to a campaign. So campaigns are central to the system because the goal is always to track, did it turn into the business goal? So did this turn into a member? Did it turn into a donor? How much revenue was generated? And the campaign is the vehicle that tracks the business results against your marketing efforts. So here are the fields that I have. You can see that I have fields that we could see, but I also have hidden fields. So if I'm using something like Google search and I want to integrate UTMs, or if I have a hidden field, like for example, I could put the same form on multiple pages because it's the same data being collected, but I could have a hidden field that actually collects the page location. So that way it populates when the person fills in the form. If I wanted to add a new field, it's really easy. I simply go to new field. And from here, I can say, what is the field I'd like to add? So if the field is going to be, for example, maybe I want to add city and state. City, here it is. And I can also change the labels. So if I want the labels to say something else, I can. This is extremely helpful as well if you're operating in different languages, because of course you'll be using the system in English, but you can change your labels to any language that you need to. So whether it's Spanish or French or any other language, the labels can help you translate to your audience. I can decide if the field is required simply by a check mark. And then there are other things that I can do with my fields, such as I can do logic. So I can say, do you know what? Only show the state field if the country is the United States. I can also say, if I'm collecting a lot of data, I only want to collect certain data points with each visit. So let's say I have white papers. I have 5 white papers that people could potentially download. I have 9 data points that I'd like to collect. I could set up the form in such a way that on the first visit, I'm only collecting 3 of those 9 data points. On the second visit, the system will recognize them. Remember I showed you the visitor tracking? Well, now that I know who the person is, it continues to track them. So as soon as they come back to the website, it will recognize them. And I could say only display the fields they haven't filled in yet and only display them in blocks of 3. So I could say the next 3 fields will display when they come to download the next white paper. And that next visit can be literally going from one white paper page to the next page immediately, or coming back a different hour or a different day, right? So the goal is when you go to the next page to download something else, it will ask you 3 different fields. When I go to download the third item, it will ask me the final fields. If I wanted to download the additional 2 white papers, because I mentioned there were 5, it would no longer ask me for data because the system recognizes who I am, and it would simply show my email address pre-populated. So the goal with this system, if we're thinking about engagement and really getting to know people, is to mimic human behavior. When I meet you and I know your name and your title or anything else about you, it would seem really weird if every time I saw you, I would ask for that data again. So we want the forms to behave the same way. We want them to only ask what is needed. You can decide how you want your button to be labeled. Completion jacksons are the best part. So this is what happens when somebody fills in a form. You can have an on-page message. That message could be anything. It can include images, video, whatever you want that message to include. But the powerful part are these completion actions. This is what happens after somebody fills in a form. I have some basic actions. I have an assignment, which means create a record in Salesforce. I'm also creating a task for whoever I assign this record to. Adding the person to a Salesforce campaign with a status to mark what they've done. And I'm also adding them to a list. So there's all types of actions that you can take. You can update somebody's record. You can change field data. You can send an email to notify staff. You can also make these actions conditional. I could say notify Marilyn if the person is in education, notify Erica if the person is in philanthropy, right? So there's all types of different things. And of course, I would have to be collecting that data on the form. So there's all types of logics that you can build into these completion actions so that when the form is completed, the data goes to anybody, the correct people on the team, whether they're in marketing or not. Let's go ahead and confirm and save our form. Also, for adding the forms to the website, it's super easy. The system automatically generates the code. You just copy and paste it, and then the form will exist on your website. So here's my record. It has populated what I've typed. If I click on the little blue cloud, it will let me access the Salesforce record. So this may be the record your non-marketers are seeing. So as a non-marketer, I could see that it's created a follow-up task for me. And I can also, if I needed to, come to see, well, what did they do on the marketing side? So if I wanted to see the last website page they looked at, or I wanted to see the last form they submitted, because that might help me with my conversation when I do my follow-up, I have a seamless view into what's going on to marketing without having to leave the part of the program that I'm comfortable working with. Any data collected in the forms would also display here as well. So now that I've got the person in the database, there's a lot of things that I can do with them, right? Depending on where they are. So if this is somebody who is showing a lot of interest, I can do what I just showed you. I can pass the record to Salesforce, and whoever is on the business side could deal with them. So whether that is grant management, donor management, program management, membership management, whatever the team is, they are now being passed over. They can speak to the person. But what if the person filled in a form that doesn't necessarily intimate that somebody is going to call them? Like, let's say they sign up for a newsletter. I don't necessarily want to pass that to Salesforce because the data isn't complete enough for my teams, my operational teams, to do anything with it, right? They don't know what segment this person is. The form might just collect email address and name. That's not enough data to figure out who is this person and how should I treat them. So what can I do instead? So on my form, one of my actions was to add them to a list. From the list, I can now email them. So there's a few things I can do. Let's say that I wanted to set up a welcome series. So anybody who fills in a form that isn't necessarily a form that shows intent, meaning they're not expecting somebody to call them. This is a high-level form where they want to know more about your organization, more about what you offer and how it can help them. I could create a program for a welcome series. So what I've done is I'm now in my engagement programs, and I'll just show you how this works. So I'm going to call this a new constituent welcome series. In the description, I can put what it is. So I could say it's a 3-part series, continue to introduce them to who we are and what we do, with the goal of getting them to book an appointment, fill in a form, give a donation, but whatever the goal is, you would put that into the description. From here, I can now access that list that I had in my form. So if I have a list for my welcome series, I would simply access it here and add it to my engagement program. If there's people I want to suppress, like let's say in case a partner fills in the form, I don't want them to get the same welcome, I can do that. I won't go through every feature, but I will go through the highlights. All right, so from here, what I will do is I would go ahead and save this, and I can now start the journey for anybody who comes through that form. So the first thing I may want to do is I may want to do an action. So there's 3 things I can do. I can do an action, which is taking an action on my prospect or on my staff. So for example, creating a task or an assignment, but on my prospect, it's something like sending an email, adding them to a campaign, taking an action on their record. A trigger is listening for the prospect's reaction. So if I sent them an email, did they open, did they click, did they download, did they submit that form, what did they do? A rule lets me subdivide my list. So if I now want to treat the same audience differently depending on data values in their data or actions that they've taken, I can do that. So let me show you. Let's do an action. First thing I want to do is I want to send them a welcome email. Everyone's going to get this email. If I have my template created, I could go ahead and find my welcome email, new membership welcome, or actually I'll do just the new welcome. Welcome number 1. So here's my email. When do I want to send it? So if they filled in a form and the form gave them an email thank you, I may not want to send them another email right away. I may want to wait a day. And I could wait a day, or I could say, well, do you know what? Maybe I don't want to wait a full day. Maybe I just want to wait 5 hours. So you can pick how long you want to wait before you send out your emails. There are other options such as send on a date. This would be if you're creating an engagement program for a webinar like what we're doing. I could say, do you know what? 3 weeks before the webinar is when I want the first email to go out. The second email will go out 2 weeks before the webinar, and the third email will go out 1 week before the webinar. So you have a lot of different timing options with how you want this email to go out. So I'm going to say 5 hours. It'll go out same day, but not right on the back of the other email. Now, what I want to do is I can actually add the response to a campaign. The campaign is a vehicle where anybody in your organization can check to see what's happening on the marketing side. So the way that account engagement and the CRM work together is similar to how an app on your phone works with your phone, right? So when you buy a phone, it has base functions. It can make phone calls, there's an address book, there's a camera, right? The phone comes with features. But if there's something you want to do that your phone can't do, you would extend the functionality by going to the App Store. When you go to the App Store, you could get something like WhatsApp. When you install the app, what it does is it will use functions you already have. So it will say, can I use the camera? Can I use your address book? But then it will also add the interface that you're using for WhatsApp to your videos, your text messaging, right? All of that. So it adds bits, but it uses bits that are already there. Campaign is something that comes with the Salesforce CRM. So even if you don't have marketing, you have campaigns. What account engagement does is it uses campaigns. It's a shared feature so that anybody in the organization could see it. So if you don't want people continually asking you, how did the campaign do? How is it doing? How is it doing? You can push the results to the campaign. So you could find the campaign that you're looking for, and I could say what has happened, it's been sent. And what will show on their side is when they're looking at that campaign, they'll see what percentage of people have received the email, what percentage of people have opened or clicked, or whatever actions you choose to track. So from here, I can now say, do you know what? Let's listen to what the prospect has done. Let's listen for an open. And let's wait 3 days. Let's not assume that they're waiting in their inbox for my email. They may be busy, they may be out of town, work may be calling, they may be sick. So I'm going to wait 3 days to see if they open the email. Now, the goal with an engagement program, and this is software independent. So part of what Galvin does when we do these implementations is we give you best practices for marketing as well as marketing automation. So the best practice is if somebody is not responding, to actually stop emailing them. Why? Because all of the email platforms today have AI built into and deep learning built into their platforms. That's why they introduced all these extra inboxes, right? So Outlook has the other box, Gmail has like the promotions box and the update box, but all of them have the spam box. What they're doing is every time your organization sends an email, is they're collecting data on the performance. So they're saying, okay, you sent an email, 100 of these emails came to Gmail, and corporate servers do this too. So if you're sending it to businesses, it will do the same thing. They'll look and say, you sent it to X amount of our audience. They'll say, what percentage of our audience is not opening your email? What percentage of our audience is marking you as spam or opting out of your emails? And if that is a large percentage, right? Let's say that every time I send an email and the Gmail users, 70% are not opening it. You're teaching the AI that your emails are not important. So they will stop delivering them to the inbox because the platform's job is to satisfy its customer, right? So its customer doesn't want emails that it's not reading. It doesn't want spam. So it's trying to reduce that. So what it's doing is it's looking at the person's behavior to determine, should I even deliver this email? So if you see a lot of unopens, it will say, okay, this isn't a good email. Let's put it in the other box or the update box or the promo box. Where you don't want to end up is the spam box, right? So when somebody doesn't engage, ideally what you want to do is live to fight another day. Take them out of the program. Before you take them out, you can do something. You might do an action to add them to a list. Maybe what I'm speaking about specific to our organization in the welcome series is not what they're interested in. Maybe I started this out with donations. I'm going to put them in the list for volunteers, and I'm going to take them now down a different track. Now, the beautiful part about this is if I have not yet created my volunteers list, I can leave this blank. So as I'm building my engagement program, if I don't have the assets created, I can leave it blank. I can now listen for another action. So I could say, well, did they, in this email, I just wanted to educate them. So I'm going to say, did they click a specific link in the email? So I could say any link or specific link, and I could find the specific link in the email. I could wait to listen for their reaction. It creates another split. So now what I've got is I've got people who have opened it and didn't click. So this might be where I want to do my follow-up and send another email rather than to the people who are not opening, right? So I can send an email here. For the people who did click, they might get a different email. And if I wanted to repeat these steps, and again, I might wait. So let's say we're going to wait 4 days or maybe 3 days before we send another email. And for the people who didn't open, we might wait a little less. We might wait 2 days and send it with a different call to action, right? So I know I'm only emailing people who are engaged at this point. And if I wanted to repeat the pattern, I could simply select the pattern that I've created, copy all the steps, and I can paste them to any one of these areas, right? So I'm going to paste it to both. And there's just a little bug in the system where it doesn't show it right away, but I'll just navigate back and you can see that the steps have been pasted, right? So I can continue through and I could say, well, do you know what? For the second email I send, I'm not listening for a link click. I'm asking them to do a little bit more. So instead of the link click, I'm now going to listen to the download. I've given them something to download. I can find the specific file, and I could say I'm going to listen for 4 days to see if they've downloaded it. And if they've downloaded it, again, I'm going to take a specific action. Maybe at this point, I might introduce the call. I might say I want somebody to make a call and reach out to them. So I can create a Salesforce task for somebody to give them a call and follow up with them. Right? So there's lots of different actions you can take. Once you've got your engagement program built out, you can test it. So I can say, if I started this today, how long would it take somebody to go through it? So I know I'm waiting 5 hours. They'll get the email. I'm going to check to see if they opened it. I'm going to say yes. Let's say they opened it on day 3. I'm going to check to see, did they click the link? I'm going to say, no, they didn't. So I'm going to wait 2 days. I'm going to send them another email. I'm going to check to see if they opened this one. Maybe this one did hit their sweet spot. So I could check to see, did they click? And again, it would go through the program. So I could see that it took, so they received the initial email, they received a follow-up email. It took 10 days. That doesn't sound overwhelming. I could add additional emails. So that way I could see, you know, if the time frame and the communications, is it overwhelming? Is it underwhelming? Do I want to add more? Do I want to listen for more? I can adjust as I go along, right? The goal is that once they take action, or the specific action, you can have them automatically drop out of the engagement program. So what I could do is, in addition to saying, remember I said, if I don't want to include partners, I could also say, if this goal was to get them to first donation, I could say, I also want to oppress or suppress donors. So as soon as somebody becomes a donor, it updates in the software immediately. So the donation is registered in Salesforce. Immediately, account engagement can see that data because it's sharing the contact. And the person will immediately go to the suppression list, and wherever they are when they made the donation in this journey, it will immediately take them out. Same with membership, same with whatever goal you were trying to get them to do, program engagement. If they enrolled in a program, you can immediately take them out of the program by creating a suppression. Now you can also do regular sends and build emails, right? So let's talk about building emails and what does that look like? So there's 2 things that you could do. You can build templates. The templates let you create a look and feel for your emails so that every time you build an email, this is the template you're going to use. These can match your branding. I'll just show you a little bit about what the builder looks like so that you can see how it looks. It's a drag and drop builder. So what I can do is I can say, am I adding an image? Am I adding a button? Am I adding text? And depending on what I add, it just gives me a different editor. So when I'm adding an image, I can either grab the image from our file storage, or I can add my own content, right? So I can go to my laptop and update a file and pull it in and add an image. So when I'm in the image editor, that's what I see. And I can scale the image based on size, and I can put padding around it and decide, do I want it centered or left? I can add text. So this could be the text that I'd like to add. And let's say I wanted to personalize some of this text, I can add merge fields. So I could add information about the person. So I could say, maybe I want the person's first name. I could add information about their organization if they're with an organization. I could say, I want to add the organization's state. Maybe I'm going to say in Illinois or in California. The system also lets you populate data, default data, if there's no data that exists. So for example, if I had a newsletter form and the only thing I collected was email address, I know that I have a significant amount of people who may be in my database without an email. If I put the first name, I know it will show blank. So in our software, you can actually say, I want this to say, hello friend. And that's what it will say only if there's no first name in the data. Same with state or any other thing. So instead of it populating your state, it could just say your state if I don't have that data. I could type in whatever I need. I could format the text. I could style the background. It's really easy to adjust. So if I decided, you know what, I want this section to be a 2-column section, I can go to the row setting and I could say, do you know what, I want 2 columns. Or I could say I want 3 columns. So the way that the measurements works is just a measure of 12. This is the latest, greatest, like bootstrap type programming. And I could say how much padding I want around each column and how do I want to style it. So do I want this column to stand out a little bit, or this row to stand out a little bit more than the others? I could say, well, do you know what? I want a little bit of a gradient on this, maybe a light pink. And there we go. Now I've got a specific column that stands, or a specific row that stands out. I could also do that background with an image. So I could have an image here as well. I could have the image just be a full image, or I could have it be like a pattern that repeats in the background. Now, there's nothing wrong with putting images in backgrounds of your emails, but just know that some email clients don't render those background images, such as Outlook. Right, so I would go through, I would build my email. If I wanted to add the button, I would put my call to action here. Where do I want to send the person when they click? And I can completely style my button with different fonts that are available, different font sizes, all my colors, so you can match your branding perfectly. If you like rounded corners on your buttons, there you go. Or if you like a sharp corner, anything in between you can do. Once you're happy with your styling and you've got your can spam elements in there, you can save your template, and this can be reused and reused and reused. When you create your templates, you can also decide, do you know what, on any one of these sections, I can decide that I don't want anybody to edit parts of it. And I can say you can't edit this section for the users. So if there is someone separate building your templates and you want to preserve parts of them, you can. You can't edit the header of the newsletter. I can say that. I can also see what this would look like on a phone. I can flip to my little phone view. I could see if I'm happy with how everything is resizing, and flip back into desktop. So really easy to use. Can I add other things beside images? Most definitely. I could say, do you know what? Let's go ahead and add another section. And I could say, I want to add maybe a video component, right? So I've got a little video component here. So, oops, I added it to the wrong spot. You can see how the drag and drop is very easy to move the data around. So you can literally drag any piece of your data to another section. Here's where I'd say where the video is living. I can also have the thumbnail. I could have an image for the thumbnail that I'd like to use specifically, and I can change the color of the button depending on the color of the background image. And I can even trigger actions to happen if people click on the button. If somebody presses play, I want X to happen. So let's go ahead and save that. So that's how I can build the look and feel of my emails. When I'm actually ready to send, I use something very similar. So I would use the email content. This is where I could say, well, do you know what? I'm sending maybe I'm prepping my February newsletter. I can go ahead and find that template. And once I find the template, I'm going to grab a different one just to show you. But once I grab that template, it brings in the look and feel. And then from here, I can go into the builder and I can edit it. It's the exact same experience, right? So there's no difference. So I can say, okay, here's the event. I now want to add my location. I want to add my event images, register now, any other details that I want to add, I can. Now, the handy part about when you're ready to send the email is that you can do a review in the software. So I could actually share a post. Now, sharing this post, you do have to be on Plus to do this part. But I could tag anybody in my organization and I could say, do you know what? I want to let Heather know that this is finished. Please review and provide feedback. The reason I love this feature is because it eliminates the email chain in your inbox. And as a marketer, you may know this. So you send an email proof to 5 people. You send one email, you get 5 emails back. You have to go through all 5 emails, look at that feedback, incorporate it, see if any of the feedback is the same or worse yet, conflicts, add it in. 5 days later, you're ready to send the email. And right before you hit send, somebody might say, hey, did you incorporate my feedback? You'd have to find that email in your inbox, look at the feedback, see if it's incorporated. If I have Chatter, I can ask the question, Heather gets a notification in Salesforce. She can add her comments here. Anybody else can add their comments, like her comments. And now when I'm ready to send, I know what's been said because it's right along the right-hand side. It just eliminates some of that email noise that I have to work with. When I'm ready to send, I simply go to, I could preview the email. So there's a few things I can do. I can preview it, see what it looks like as a prospect. I'll just let it load up. In a minute. Here we go. Hold on 1 second. Let's do that again. So let's grab our newsletter. You can do a preview to see what it looks like. There we go. And I could find anybody in my database and preview it as that person, make sure I've got the right merge fields. I can send tests to anybody in the organization. So I can send my test emails. You can create a seed list. So if there are people you send to on a regular basis, I can simply find that list and send it to them. Or if I'm sending it to a different set of people for this particular email because it's for one of the departments, simply type in their email addresses and send it to them that way. When I'm ready to do the final send of the email, I would simply go to the send feature here. It does check your email. It checks for a few things. It will check to make sure that you have a subject line. It will check to make sure that you have your unsubscribe. It will check to make sure that you have your text copy created. So it does check to make sure that you are CAN-SPAM compliant. If there's anything missing, you do need to go back into your email, add what's missing, and then you'll be able to send the email. So the system also incorporates best practices to help protect your sender reputation. So you can see I don't have a footer. So what I'll do is I'll simply add a section for the footer. And this is where I will give people the option to unsubscribe. So by law, just as an FYI, you always have to include your address, and the option to unsubscribe. You can also include a preference page as well. So it doesn't have to be just the option to unsubscribe. In the email. It's actually a best practice to include both because if you only include the unsubscribe, if people just don't want one of your emails, it will force them to receive none of them. The links for your unsubscribe and preference pages are stored in merge fields. So it makes it really easy to link to them. I can simply say, I want to link this text to my managed preference page. And I want to link this text to my unsubscribe page. Oops, let me do that again. Here we go. And now let's go ahead and save our email. All right, so now I know that I'm meeting my CAN-SPAM compliance. I've got my footer, which the system is actually checking to make sure I've got the ability for people to unsubscribe. It's also checking to make sure I have a text version of the email. So a text version, if I just scroll below my email, is right here. All it does is it grabs all of the words from your email and adds it to this text version. When you send an email, one of the things these spam filters do, in addition to checking the percentage of people opening and not opening the email, is it will check the text version to see if the words match the pretty version. Oftentimes spammers don't have a text version or the text version doesn't match. And that is a way to red flag an email that it's probably spam. So I now have my text version. I have my unsubscribe links in there. I've got my subject line. I now meet all of the criteria to send my email. So I can go ahead and go to the send again. And it's asking for marketing and operational because you're able to send emails to people who have opted out. So if it's an operational email, like our office is closed, we've changed the login process, like something that isn't marketing, you can send the email to your whole database. A marketing email respects their opt-out preferences. So this is where I'd say, okay, I would like to attach this to the specific campaign that I've created. Here's the list of people I'm sending it to. Here's a list of people I don't want receiving this email. And who would I like to send it from? So I can send it from a general user. I can send it from somebody specific. I could say whoever's assigned in Salesforce to that account, like if I have geographic or industry or some other way of assigning records, I could say sign it based on whoever owns the account. I can also say just assign it from a specific person. Our newsletters always come from Heather. Or I could say, do you know what? I'd rather use a general email, and I'm going to say this is just from our organization. And I can type in their email address here. If the reply is going to somebody else, I can do that. And I can even set it to say if somebody opens or clicks this email, I want something to happen. So I could say if I send this newsletter and somebody clicks on the link that we have in here talking about our next event, right? So I could have a link in here talking about an event. Say if they click this link, I want to notify somebody internally so that they give the person a call. Or I could create a task for them. So there's so many different ways you can communicate, not just with your audience, but with your teams. So that way everybody knows the next step in moving this prospect forward to help meet their needs and take them to the call to action. So with that, that's an overview, high level of how the system works. I told you how we meet people. We bring them in through the forms. You can also import people. Once they're in, you can decide, is this somebody I'm passing to the organization? Is this somebody I need to warm up with an engagement program? And while they're in the system at any given point in time, you can send them emails. All of the activity that you do with your prospects accumulates against their prospect record, where you are able to then see that data in both account engagement and use that data in both account engagement and in Salesforce to trigger additional actions with your prospect, right? So here I can see all their actions. I can see any data that we've collected. This data is also available in Salesforce to see, right? I can see what pages they've looked at, and I can trigger off all of this data. So with that, what we'll do is we will open up our Q&A to answer any of your questions.
Thanks so much, Yvette. I loved your passion and your technical expertise and showing all of the great functionality that Marketing Cloud Account Engagement has for nonprofits. So thank you for all your preparation and time. Also, thank you to our participants here. We've had some good activity in both the chat and the Q&A. So just because little misdirection, sent people to the chat, I'm going to make sure that everyone there is taken care of. Jeff had asked about the nonprofit demo that is on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. If you'd like to double dip and come back and see that one, you are certainly welcome to. So at this point, I'll switch over to Q&A. Liz asked, Yvette, you discussed adding code to be able to track data from our website. Can account engagement do the same thing with our portals, Experience Cloud?
So yes, we can add the code to any Experience Cloud page if you want to track if people are going to that page. And also, I didn't mention this, but you can actually trigger actions if somebody visits a page. So I can put in the actual page URL in the software and say, if somebody visits this page, I want to add them to a list, update their file, notify somebody. That's not just for your portal pages, but once they're known in the database on any page on your website. One of the best practices that we teach is if they go to a page of what we call intent, so maybe a page with pricing or a registration page, like a page where you expect them to do something. They want to go on the trip, they want to volunteer, but they didn't do it. You can actually have that page check to see if they're already in a list, and if not, add them to a list to nurture them about that topic, whether that's volunteering or the trip or anything else. So yes, it's possible.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to type an abridged version of your response for Liz. Next question is there a social media widget, or would we have to make that?
So there is the ability to post to social media from account engagement, but not to all of the platforms. It integrates today with Facebook, with LinkedIn, and those are the only two. What some people do is they will connect Facebook to Instagram if they want the post to go there. The post will, you can attach the post to, it will show in the person's history, like when I showed you their engagement. It will also attach the post to a campaign, and you can also tag the post with interests. So you can see if there are certain posts that people are interacting with more than others. The only thing about this is I would say that account engagement, I wouldn't say that social media is its strongest suit. I would say it's more of a social posting tool, not a social management tool, because you're unable to respond to people. So if somebody's asking you a question, you cannot respond to them through account engagement. You would have to go back to the native platform or some other tool to respond. Is that what you meant by social media widget, that you wanted to be able to post to social media?
I-
And I'll wait for
Yeah,
that. If there's another question, I'll wait for that to come in. But I do see the question from Erin. I'll let you read it, Erica.
Sure. Okay, so Aaron asks, what plugin add-on are you using to add the video link in an email?
So Aaron is somebody I've trained, so he knows the software pretty well. In account engagement, when you go into the new email builder, at the very bottom, there's an option to go to the app exchange. The app exchange is where there are other things that you can add to the email builder to extend its functionality. So there are apps for the app. In the App Store, when you click on that, it'll take you to the App Exchange specifically. And yes, this is great to know. It will take you, when you click on the go to the App Exchange from the new email builder, it takes you to a section of the App Exchange that is specifically for account engagement. And there's tons of things that you can do. One of those widgets is one to add video into your email. They have all kinds of other ones, like, do you want to add a one question poll? Do you want to add SMS abilities? Now you have to have an SMS tool, mind you, but do you want to add SMS abilities to send text, integrate that into your engagement program? So, I have a step to send an email, and then create a task to make a phone call, and then maybe send a text message to people who have opted in. So there's all kinds of great add-on apps that both Salesforce and other vendors have created to extend the functionality of the new email builder, as well as other parts of account engagement software.
Fantastic. Thanks. An anonymous attendee is back, said yes and no. I was also wondering about the email builder creation of widgets, but that is also great to know. So I think we retired that one in two different responses.
Lovely.
If we did not, feel free to pop back into the Q&A and let us know.
So actually,
All right.
everything that I showed you, with the exception of the chat, just as everyone to know, was in the growth package. But if you want to be able to segment based on membership, based on gift transactions, based on program engagement, you will need plus with custom objects. So it's just something to note, or even on affiliations. This person is affiliated to these different accounts. You will need plus with custom objects. So that is the version we do recommend. If you do have any additional questions, I would like to point out that we'll turn it back to Erica, where you could set up a private call if you want us to call and speak specifically to your organization. If there are other people on your team who you'd like to see this software, you can either set up a private demo, or you can come back and rejoin us next week as we go through how this works with Nonprofit Cloud. And with that, I'd love to say thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. And I will turn it back over to Erica.
Yeah, thanks, Yvette. I'll go ahead and share the final screens here before everyone departs.
You're welcome.
If you don't mind. Ali, you are welcome. Hey, I think you need to stop sharing, Yvette, so I can pop back over to my slides.
Sorry.
All good. Okay. So, to wrap it up, as I shared before, Galvin has deep capabilities for marketing cloud account engagement. As you saw from the depth of expertise from Yvette and her team, we would be happy to engage you in either an implementation of marketing cloud account engagement if you are done with HubSpot or MailChimp and ready to really realize the full automation and integration of your Salesforce instance and marketing cloud. Definitely talk to us and your Salesforce AE. We also provide asset design and creation. We can kind of help steward your acquisition of knowledge, just like Aaron has been working with Yvette in the past, and making sure that you all are feeling really comfortable with the investment and the capabilities of the system. Yvette did mention that I'm available for any conversations and follow up to this. If you want to talk about what that might look like for you, please do contact me. You can scan that QR code or you can send me an email at emcnichol@galvintech.com. I would love to chat with you. And we have gotten through all of our questions. So if there's nothing else, then we'll go ahead and bid you all adieu for the day. Thank you, Olivia. Really appreciate the positive feedback and everyone that attended. There will be a brief survey after the webinar. So if you could complete that, that really helps us refine the way that we present content and what we bring to y'all. So thanks again. Take care, everyone.